When you look at some of the songwriting credits on Flatt and Scruggs albums, you'll see the last names Certain and Stacy on some of the songs they recorded under the Columbia label. Neither Certain or Stacy were songwriters. Louise Certain married Earl to become Mrs. Scruggs, and Gwen Stacy married Lester to become Mrs. Flatt. So to avoid copyright issues, Lester and Flatt used their wives' maiden names for some of the songs, and it included classics like Foggy Mountain Special and Don't Let Your Deal Go Down. And this wasn't the only bluegrass musician to regularly use pseudonyms to avoid messy copyright issues when writing and recording under different labels. Bill Monroe used a number of different pen names through the years. It included Wilbur Jones, Albert Price, Rupert Jones, and John Reichman's favorite, the tune named after one of Bill Monroe's pseudonyms that we're listening to right now, Joe R. But one of my favorite writing credits is the songwriter Ruby Rakes. It was the credit that the Stanley Brothers used on a number of songs recorded under the King Records label, and similar to Certain and Stacy, Ruby Rakes was a real person. Lee Stanley and Lucy Smith had both lost their spouses, and the two would fall in love, and in 1924 the two remarried. Now, from their previous marriages, they both had daughters. Lee's daughter was Hattie Mae Stanley, and Lucy's was Ruby Rake Smith. Now, Lee and Lucy would have 2 children together, and they would grow up to become the singers Carter and Ralph Stanley, the Stanley Brothers. And the 2 boys were very close to their family, especially their mother, and especially Ralph. Here's some bonus trivia for you. When the 2 brothers were touring one night from Asheville, North Carolina to Bristol, Tennessee, Carter turned the interior light on because he had an idea for a song and he wanted to write it down before it slipped from his mind. Well, Ralph was driving and got annoyed that his brother turned on the light. And he got even more annoyed when he found out that the song Carter wrote had a line that their mother and daddy were dead. However, when the song Carter wrote, The White Dove, became one of the brothers' greatest hits, Ralph was much more forgiving of his brother's antics. Now, while Ralph and Carter were close to everyone in their family, Sister Ruby held a particular special place in the brothers' lives. Ruby was 9 when Carter was born and 11 when Ralph came into the world, so she felt more like an aunt than a sister to the two. But Ruby had a warm, generous, and loving personality and really loved her brothers, spending many hours with Carter and Ralph as they grew up and played a significant role in raising them. So it was natural for the brothers to choose their loving half-sister's name for songs written under King Records. And that included Stanley Brothers classics like Clinch Mountain Backstep and How Mountain Girls Can Love, just to name a few. And when the Stanley Brothers would come to Michigan to perform, you could bet that Sister Ruby would always come to sit in the front row.